Well, growing up for me, I was raised, my dad was a farmer and he was a minister, and I was in church a lot. Very poor. We had everything we needed, but it was some tough times. But we made it through and had a good upbringing in the Word. Was taught to read the Word a lot, to pray. And one thing my dad, as I was younger, sticks with me today is he said, "Son, in this life, you'll need to do a lot of praying and a lot of meditating on the Word." Had a good upbringing in the Word, good foundation on the Word, and a good life. I mean, it was tough times at times, but we just had a close family. We're very close.
I wasn't raised on a farm, but my mother worked a farm. She was a minister, pretty much a single parent most of my childhood, and always in church. Very heavy Pentecostal, strict. Didn't really like having to grow up that way, but if I was to take something from what she instilled in me was, no matter the circumstances, she never gave up, no matter what it looked like. She always pressed, and she pressed hard, and she instilled that in me and my brother.
Had to grow up quick. My dad told me when I was younger, he said, "Everything that I've gotten from the Lord has been from fasting and praying." So I learned to do that in my walk with the Lord, and that's helped out a lot. But I had to mature quick. Physically, both parents in my early 20s, deceased, and it just had to grow up quick, and felt like I felt like I had nobody to talk to as far as a father figure in my life. And I kept that quiet for a lot of times. Everybody expected me, even in my family, with my brother and my sisters, I was the minister. And so, even though they never said it, I kind of felt that they wanted me to, I was the voice, the teacher, the helper, I had to be strong for them, and even though it was the other way around, I really drew from my brother. Wouldn't be here without him, and my sisters, they really helped me out. But it was just, had to grow up quick.
My teenage years from 14 on was a really big struggle. I looked into a lot of the wrong places to try to find that comfort. And then my dad got sick abruptly, no long-term sickness, and in my early 20s he had passed. But before that happened, it was about 3 months, we had made peace, and Dad was a granddad to his grandchildren, which was our heart's desire. So it did change my life in a way but I believe it put me on a path that, because without that circumstance and the way I went, I would have never met Sammy's parents, who then I met Sammy. So it was meant to be.
So for me, it was responsibility and convenience. I mean, me and her talked about it a lot of times. I did not even know what love was. And that's just being honest. We weren't supposed to make it because I was a rebel and I was a runabout, as they called me different things. But I was learning what love was. I was learning about the Lord. I had a knowledge of Him. I just didn't know much. I didn't have a good relationship with Him, and it was rough. Our first few years were real rough, but through that, we learned how to love, and we realized that love is not what a lot of people associate with love, and that's an emotion. Love is care, and love is an action. And now we have, to me, I can tell my wife anything, which in the beginning it wasn't that way. didn't want to talk much. But now I can tell her anything. Not only she's my wife, she's my friend. She's somebody I can confide in. And I don't know where I'd be without her.
In that time, the Lord showed me what it was to persevere. I knew what it was to stand for something, but I hadn't learned what it was to stand until you made it to the other side. You don't teach somebody how to do it. I mean, it's a clicking, it's a knowing. And when you get that knowing, no matter what it looks like, you just hold on. The Lord's going to see you through. And it was just not letting go, taking the word for face value. Because God is, I've learned, there is no gray. He is what he says he is, and he'll do what he says if you trust him. And he did. He gave me my heart's desire.
He gave me mine. I often joke with my wife. In the beginning, we argued so much that I told her, I said, we have to realize that God gave us our heart's desire. I said, my heart's desire was to have a woman that was just about me, that wanted to be with me all the time. And your heart's desire was to get me. I said, and he gave us both that, and now we got to learn to live with it. So it was tough, but now it's such a blessing. Now we know that it was good all the time. You will never change anybody, and you can't even change yourself. And what I mean by that is Jesus said we can do nothing of ourselves. And as we are finding fault with others, what is really happening is God is revealing our faults to us. And if we would just keep ourselves before the Lord, Lord, change me, help me to be a better husband, help me to be a better father, help me to not be bothered by things that other people do. Don't ever put your happiness in somebody else's hands, because they will let you down. That's good for spouses. Don't try to change anybody. Let God change you, and it will be fine.
And I would say, before I even knew Pastor Joyce as a pastor, I had heard her, without having a conversation with me, make a comment that no matter what was said about hers, mine is a good man, and mine is a strong man. And I took that to heart. Like, no matter what it was appearing to me, or no matter what I wanted him to be, or what this perfect image was, I called it what the word said it was. And I spoke that every day. And I still speak that. You take the word and you read what I want to be, the wife that God wants me to be. Not what Johnetta thinks is right, but what is a wife's duty, and then that of a husband. And I speak that. And when you speak that, it's a knowing. So I would encourage women not to see their husbands as maybe a failure or what they think he should be, but call him what God has called him to be. And that's what he will establish.
My desire is to see my children successful in life. And I'm not talking about maybe being wealthy or anything like that, but knowing how to live and operate in this lifetime successful, with knowing how to handle problems, having wisdom, knowing how to listen to business decisions or make good decisions in their life, and realize that they are making their own path in this world according to the Word by their own heart. Teaching them that it's not what others do or say that makes them a good person, but it's how their relationship is with the Lord, what they do and what they think on. And I love to see the growth from the beginning stage until they develop and knowing how to handle pressure, knowing that I teach my kids that pressure makes diamonds, and pressure is just to get us from one place to the next place. We can do it two ways: successful or a failure. Either way, we're going to get to the other side, but we want to do it the right way. We want to enjoy the trip. We are going to get to the other side. Let's enjoy this ride. Let's enjoy where we're at. There's a time to season for all things. You know, there's a time to lose and to learn. Then there's a time to win and enjoy it either way. So that's probably my main focus, is enjoy your ride. It will go your way. It will eventually turn.
I'm going to give you a phrase, and I want you to take a moment and tell me what it means to you and your family. Agape Life Family Church.
Hope. I came to know Pastor Jim and Miss Joyce. Pastor Joyce had a very tough time in my life. Back in 2012. But through that, I felt like I was all alone, and I felt like I had no one or nowhere to go. And I felt like I had no one to talk to. And I was praying through this crisis in my life. I was praying, what was I going to do? I'm riding down the road, and I'm praying, God, I'm praying, God, where do I go? Who do I talk to? I know what I want to do in this situation, but where do I go? Who can I talk to? And my brother calls me at that very moment, and he says, this is his words, you know, you ought to give Pastor Jim a call. And at the time I told him, I said, well, I said, you call him for me and ask him this question. I said, and see what he says, because my brother had been attending Agape Life. And through, months before, maybe even as early as 6 months before this happened in my life, he would invite me to the church, but I was a minister and I was, busy. But when this happened in my life, I asked him, I said, well, ask Pastor Jim this question for me and let me know what he says. And when he called me back with the answer, he said, Pastor Jim said, whatever you need. And for me, that was an answered prayer. That was the only door that was open for for that particular situation that I needed in my life at that time. And it means hope. And it means people that no matter what you are believing God for, they add their faith and they believe it because they believe the whole Word, the whole Bible, all the promises of God. And it's just, to me, hope and support and great leadership. And there's not enough words for me to say thank you for the members and leadership of Agape Life. But thank you. Thank you.
On the days when there weren't nobody there, and when it got hard and you didn't feel like you had anybody to release that pressure with, Pastor Jim and Miss Joyce, any given time, every time, and you didn't even have to call. It was just, you would be in that place and there's the doorbell's ringing and you could be at that place or the phone's ringing, and it wouldn't be just for you as a person. I mean, they would minister to me, they minister to Sammy, but our children, our children were going through a different thing than where we were at, but the relationship, they have a pastor. It's not that their family has a pastor, they have a pastor, and they have their own unique relationships. And it's the same way with the body. There's, we're all family, and it's a strength that I can't explain. It's a God-given gift that one couple can help be there for not just your family, but everybody. And so that means more to me than absolutely anything, that they have stuck by me and my family from the worst of the worst to the going to be the best of the best.